I would be among the first to admit that we made mistakes in government. I will be among the first to admit that there was corruption within previous Antigua Labour Party administrations. But I have to admit that the corruption that exists today under the U.P.P regime makes corruption under the previous A.L.P administration child's play, my dear people.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
There will be no job losses under the Labour Party administration.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance,
I now turn to the water shortage that has plagued this country for some time. And I say to you tonight that leadership matters. I say to you tonight that the water shortage that our people have been experiencing is an issue that belongs to a different age. And I say too that we have made positive steps in order to resolve the water problem. And I guarantee you that within 14 days, there will be increased water supply in this country.
Let's face the music and dance.
A cornerstone of our general election campaign was the provision of affordable housing. Indeed, we promised 500 homes in 500 days. And we said to you that you would have gotten 500 homes in 500 days. Those with little or no vision said that it could not be done. Well, as your Prime Minister, I say to you that it can be done and that it shall be done.
Let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance.
I mean, this thing is explosive.
This is True Labor Talks with your host, the executive of the Antigua and Barbuda True Labor Party.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's so lovely to have you here on another episode of True Labor Talks. As you say, this is the only podcast in Antigua and Barbuda dealing with politics, or probably in the Leeward Islands in general. And this podcast is started because we in the True Labor Party do not have access to a radio station. We're a poor organization. We can't afford hefty rates to go weekly on the radio. So what we do, we have this podcast that we've been doing for over 3 years now. And in an attempt to educate and to have a dialogue. Many people who hear our podcast would also WhatsApp me, contact me on Facebook, call me, or send message to some individual that knows me to come and see them or they want to talk. And we're in the studio now with Lionel Nedwell, the co-host. Lionel, what do you have to say?
Yes, good afternoon to our listeners. It's good to be here with you again today. Today we have a number of topics that we want to touch base with you with, that you understand what direction we are planning to take the country into. And you just stay tuned and keep on listening.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, well, we usually start with my campaign. And it's, people have been criticizing, say we're only hearing about your campaign. But it's for the other candidates to come on the program and to really tell the country how their campaign is going. So I really just speak about what I know. I mean, there are others going on right now, but I don't want to mess up their message and say they're doing something and they might be doing it, or they might be doing it a different way, or they might want me to reveal certain information. So I just really stick to what I can tell you about my campaign, stick to what I know. In St. John's Rural South, it was a very good week. We went out Friday, and the whole idea of the campaign was that we haven't been down in Lower Otters for some time. But it was like a homecoming, you know. It's really good to see the people. They know me from down there because my Lord Chambers was over there. And what I heard on the campaign chair was just, it was gratifying that people know who you were. People heard the message to other people, the good news that we're trying to build a community center in that area, in that community, and the fact that they did hear the Honorable Joan Messiah, some of the non-nationals. I call them foreigners. I don't think it's only Antigua that the word foreigner has a bad connotation to it.
So true.
You're foreigners.
Sure.
I'm a foreigner when I go to America. Don't feel any way. I don't mean any offense. I don't mean to defame, to slander, to belittle you. You're a foreigner in Antigua. It's not a bad thing. You're closer to us than a foreigner coming from Czechoslovakia or Norway, in that you come from the region. Right? But you're a foreigner in Antigua up to now. Some of them were on the campaign trail, the last house we went to.
Yes.
And one of the ladies was like saying, yeah, you know, I was going to put my support behind Joan Messiah and DNA. However, she had those comments to make on foreigners. And I was just like, okay, Ned, well, you remember I tell you that is a very bad thing to do. Well, if it's in her heart, she's speaking from her heart. I couldn't say that because I cannot say who are doing the crimes in Antigua and Barbuda, and I would not just target foreigners.
No,
I would say to you, me personally, I personally believe that a lot of the crime is happening from the police force of Antigua and Barbuda. Either they are perpetrating the crime, or they're in the back and not fighting the crime. They are profiting from the crime, so they don't go to certain houses and certain hits, and people are just getting a crime wave going on. I am in the courts of Antigua and Barbuda, Magistrates Court, High Court, and certain things that I see, and certain, when you go to the assize, criminal assizes, and you know that this person has been to the court several times, and why isn't this person behind bars? And then you hear the police and them, where they dust for fingerprints, but the fingerprint guy on vacation, and the fingerprint sample got destroyed, and the person who was the lead investigator, he's on leave and we can't contact him, or one of the witnesses overseas and we don't have any return address, but we're holding the individual up in 1735 for the last 3 years.
That's right.
All of that is not negligence. That is by design.
Of course.
They have their friend and company in the criminal world, and they will continue to be let off. So before I go and knock the foreigners, I will knock our own police force. Foreigners in the police force, I will knock the police force. All them, local, belanger, non-national, Caribbean brothers and sisters, the police force of Antigua, comprising all the island. They probably have one member from every island or every territory in the Caribbean. I am putting my blame on them. Right? They could do a better job.
Absolutely.
You know? Go ahead.
When you have a police fingerprints expert come in to tell you that the texture of this makes it impossible for them to get a fingerprint, when you can just see it plain in front of you because it was in the dust and all that, it makes you wonder. You say, boy, we are living in primitive times.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen in the States where fingerprint experts get fingerprint off of nearly everything. A pizza. I was watching a program not very long back there. It was when the kids in Atlanta were getting killed. No, it's another one there where a house was burned down in Washington. And they held the persons hostage for about 20 hours.
Okay.
They ordered a pizza there, and they didn't eat all of it. You hear me? And everything came from that pizza.
Okay.
You understand? So when they're telling me that they have so much in front of them to work with, and they can, it's suspicious. It's very, very suspicious. But let's get back to the campaign.
Yes, another thing that I realized, it was in the early houses. And one of the gentlemen said, well, you know, he couldn't go with Labour Party because some incident with his father and so on. And then he couldn't go with U.P.P because he went down to Public Works and he thought he was in with them.
That's right.
And then the minister at the time brought all these other people before him into his office. And then when he saw him, somebody who he'd worked with before and know him, they had a history of working together.
Yeah.
He passed him. And didn't even hear him out. And he couldn't even sit down into his office and deliver the coup de grace gracefully in private. Like the minister was bolting out of his office and they said, I don't know about that. And this is a man that under him who had previous honors for hard work and efficiency on the job and so on. So he said, well, I was expecting that he knew me before politics and that you know that I'm a hard worker. So I expected that he would say, okay then, let me try to help you out. The man said, listen, me need all this sum, you know. And that was it. So, and then he had a problem with one of the members of DNA also. Someone say, wait. Out of 4 political parties, you don't bowl out 3. I wonder who you're going to vote for elected today. He said, he just started to laugh.
That's right.
I said, and I asked you for your vote now, you know, because it's too early. What I'm asking you is just to keep an open mind and see that we are attempting to improve the lives of the people in the constituency with a community center, in a hurricane shelter. And then, but we laugh when we said,
man, there's so much.
You bowl out 3 out of the 4 so far.
That's right, you've been bowling out 3, 4. But you know what's so promising about this thing? When I notice that now the homes that we go to, some persons are pulling chairs for us to sit down.
Yeah.
You understand? Rather than, it's like we went there to spend a little time with them.
Yeah.
And that's encouraging.
It's encouraging, Nedwell. But you see what happened? Because of that encouragement, they're doing their polls in corrupt labor now. I don't know what the U.P.P. are doing. But as you heard, just 2 weeks ago, somebody started to throw some shade on me, saying how I am building the community center so that I can get back into the Labour Party's good graces and run on their ticket. That is so far from reality, and that is why I mention it on our program on Variety Radio on the weekend, and I will continue to mention it because there is a bunch of fake news that is going out there on me, and that is to muddy the waters for, like, they have a whole segment of U.P.P. supporters, and they're disenfranchised, and they're discussing the representation that they've had in Rural South, but okay, they may be considered VIA now, because VIA is a third party now with them. But if VIA go back to Labour Party, then I can't vote for he. So they throw that bit of nonsense out there about me going back with corrupt Labour. And there's nothing further. I first heard it from a former member of our party, Vaughn Connor. And I was like, I just got back from vacation over summer. And me in contact with A.L.P, much less U.P.P. But I'm supposed to be groomed. Dave Lester Payne said so on his program also, that I'm supposed to be groomed to rejoin. Not join now, rejoin. If we don't tear up my membership card down in Golden Grove Extension, you remember the meeting?
That's right.
3.5 years ago?
That's right.
All I know, I'm supposed to be groomed to rejoin corrupt Labour. Pick sense, some nonsense. I am here with the True Labour Party. If it's me running on this party ticket, I am not going anywhere else. When people come to say, you don't have your full 17 candidates, what I will remind them, in 2004, the United Progressive Party won 13 of the 17 seats.
That's right.
What did they do for St. John's Rural South? And in 2014, the A.B.L.P, better known as Corrupt Labour, won 14 seats.
That's right.
And their minister, the representative for St. John's Rural South, is the Minister of Public Works. What has he done for St. John's Rural South? So that argument about having a full set of candidates, a full slate, it still has not benefited St. John's Rural South. So whether it's just me one, whether I run through Labour, me one run as an independent, me alone, you need to bear in mind that you've put your support behind a party with full slate of candidates and they've done nothing for you. Are you willing to go back down that line?
Right, let me say something. You just said, what have they done for Rural South?
Yeah.
They left them with an unfinished community center. That's what they did for Rural
Where a
South.
child was sexually assaulted.
Crimes and all sorts of nonsense.
And children are having sex
And they feel
in the
comfortable.
That's hall of a building
And
in
they
North
feel
Grove and Golden
comfortable
Grove.
doing it, that's right. So to them, this is normal. Normal stuff. They spend the taxpayers' money anyhow, $1.something million and unfinished, no doors, no windows.
5 foot wide walkway.
You can imagine.
That we haven't found as yet. We need to, before the election, take some video and really get that out there to what you have received in the Golden Grove, North Grove community. Because it is a abysmal shame. It is so sad.
No two ways about that, there.
No two ways you can look at it. It is so embarrassing. And to me, the worst part is that grown men and women saw this structure, nothing being done. They took their anger out on the U.P.P, I would say, in the last election. But what are you going to do to the corrupt Labour Party in government right now? Because the representative for St. John's Rural South said that he was going to finish the project. Because they saw the need to have a safe environment for children around the playing fields. What is he going to do?
Absolutely
He has done nothing in 3.5 years so far. He hasn't even boarded up with some plywood the entrances to this structure that is a hazard.
He hasn't even visited the area. This is what the people are telling us. He don't even come by. If somebody had gone and finished that community center, he wouldn't even know. Because he doesn't go visit the area.
That's
you
so
understand?
true.
So we don't expect anything different than what's happening.
True.
It's awful, and either way, it's awful for them. It's better for us because the people see exactly where we are coming from and where we plan to go. Because we are planning to build a community center of our own. Outside of government before we even get into government.
That's the idea.
So, what do you mean? So
and I
people can
did
see
tell
the
the
difference.
ladies, you cannot vote for me just saying, well, I'm a third party, and when I get in there, I will do this for you. You've got to see. Just keep an open mind and see how the progress goes with the community center. And then I will come back and ask you for your vote because you see that I am attempting.
That's right.
And I am hoping that before the next hurricane season comes up in June or so next year, we will have the shelter available for the citizens or the constituents in St. John's Rural South just in case they need it.
That's right.
That is life and limb. That is a danger. That in St. John's Rural South there is no hurricane shelter.
No place you can go.
There's nowhere. They're telling you to go to City South. They tell you to go to the Adventist school.
It's awful. It's awful.
For some people, that is over a mile walk.
What do you mean?
Or even more. If you're coming from Valley Road side, Kentish Road side,
that's a good walk.
to walk the Adventist thing, that's about 2 miles. That's not the easy way. Okay, maybe slope upwards too,
That too.
So it's not a matter. You got to pre-position yourself there way before the hurricane come.
That's right.
Right? And stake out your spot. Because if you go in during the hurricane, blow off your roof, and you intend to go up that mount and rain pelting you, and water rushing off the Michael's Mount and Hospital Hill, you got problems.
It's a heck of a thing getting
That
up
is
to
the undertaking that I say,
right.
boy, I bet you just tap in without the roof and throw something over your head.
You pull your mattress over you and says, hope that it stays down. But you see, this is the whole thing. We plan to build a community center, and we are going hard at it. And the people then understand what we are saying, because previous to the hurricane, we were talking about building the community center and using it as a hurricane shelter as well. And it's only after the hurricane where the people, it really hits them that the importance of having a community center that can be used,
dual purpose.
Dual purpose,
dual purpose place in their
and then you have a shelter right there at the same time.
Because it's a benefit. Because I was telling the lady, listen, where you live to where that hurricane shelter is be, you can probably go to the first floor and look over to see your
Exactly,
roof
if
is
your
still
roof
on
is still there.
and see the condition of your property.
That's right.
But
It's
there
a
are
plus.
also indirect benefits because a community that has a community center, that is an asset that
right.
raises the cost of the property
That's
because
true.
it's something is utilitarian. It's something to benefit that area.
That community.
That will raise the price of the property.
That's right.
You understand?
Yeah.
A hurricane shelter is nearby.
Oh, yes,
that
man,
when
that
people are
even
selling
more.
land and so on, that is taken
part-
into
yeah,
account
account.
why you
That's
should
right.
raise it. If you do a valuation, you get somebody to evaluation and you point what you have in that area, a hurricane shelter, community center, he will most
That
likely
value
tag
goes
on
up.
some figures,
Yeah,
some
the value
numbers
goes up. Yes,
to
the
that.
value goes up.
So it benefits the community over a whole. Even if you're U.P.P, even if you're corrupt labor DNA, your value of property,
Yes,
your one of the few
property.
things you may have as your own, your piece of land where your house is, the value of that is going
All
up
of a
because of
sudden
what
it
we're
will fly
doing.
up. Yeah.
So everybody in that community is supposed to support this endeavor.
Very much
Everybody is
so. They
supposed to
should.
say,
That's
boy,
the only beneficial.
mean to support Vera and them, but
But
when we talk to the
community
value upon the
center,
property, you
that's
gonna
right.
by a couple $1,000 because
All that.
people will purchase
Yes, yes.
that house more likely
Because of-
because in case of a
Yes,
hurricane
yes,
and your
yes,
children
close
can
by.
go over there while they can go and do their homework and
And all
you
that
can
good stuff.
mind them for
Yeah,
a few hours
yeah.
when you're not home.
Extra
That is the
hours.
benefit that we want to do,
Very
and
much
that
so.
is coming before going into office.
That's right.
You can't
That's right.
predict what the future will be, but win, lose, or draw, that is the goal that we have as a political
Very much so.
organization for St. John's Rural South.
That's
And this is just the first. This is the flagship. They will be going into all the all 70s constituencies.
correct. That's
It will
correct.
take time, but
Yeah.
that is one
That
of
is
the
the plan.
legacy
That's the
of
plan.
true labor that we
is the
want to
plan.
pass on to bestow on Antigua and Barbuda,
Community
all
center
70s
in
constituencies.
every community.
Yes,
That's right.
let us move on now. We spent a bit of time on the
Yeah,
campaign
but
trail.
it's
There's a lot
going
of
so
other
good.
issues that we have to talk about, and it's very, very interesting. Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda has been highlighted as saying that he wants to nationalize the hotels in Antigua and Barbuda. I believe it's an act of desperation because the treasury is empty.
Nothing else.
After CIP has failed, after promising 500 houses in 500 days, after promising full employment within 3 years of his administration, none of that has happened. He's promised that the cornerstone, you heard it in the opening
Yes,
clip, the
yes,
cornerstone of the election promise was affordable housing. The Prime Minister's to date has only built 48 houses down at Perry Bay out of 500. That is 9.6%. So what we are saying to you is that this government is an abysmal failure. So now he's looking for money. Okay, the hoteliers have money that they're not giving to him and they don't want to pay taxes and they have all these concessions and delinquency in paying their taxes. So he's saying he wants the government to go and take the little resources, the little financing we have, the little money that we have in our treasury to purchase the hotels. And when we purchase the hotels, we're going not to manage the hotels ourselves as a government, because government doesn't manage business very well. What we're going to do is lease the
them out
hotel to the same hotelier for him to manage it for us, so that we will be in getting more profits from the hotel.
Don't make any sense there.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't
But the
even
problem I
understand what you're
have is we've had a problem in Antigua and Barbuda with the Tenders Board Act, where if he say he's going to lease these hotels, I am saying today, will these leases go out to tender? I don't believe so, because the Labour Party has too much cronies that they want to put into these positions
definitely.
of wealth and power and prestige to be managed a large hotel, to be one of the cornerstones of our economy. They are going to run it into the ground. You understand?
Like anything else.
They have an article. First, the article was in the Loop News. It was an article by a gentleman by the name of something Mackenzie. I can't find it here at the top of the page. But this is on the 19th of October. The Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Browne, declaring that Caribbean governments should have ownership stakes in hotels has been described as a dangerous way for the region to go if it hopes to attract investors. Speaking from Weir Capital in London, Robert Mackenzie responding, state-owned hotels in the Caribbean has never been successful at any time. The business of government is not running businesses. Antigua is heavily indebted and should use its resources prudently in areas like education, healthcare, and maintaining law and order, not using well-needed capital to buy hotels. Browne went on to add that his government will now be pursuing a policy of entrepreneurial socialism. He further explained his thinking, adding, and this is not a socialistic policy. It is very much capitalistic, in which we are saying here, look, we will risk our capital, we will borrow the money, we will invest in these hotels, and we will lease them to the private sector to operate. So basically, the private sector will be an employee of the government.
Yeah.
Isn't it a problem that our monthly budget is too high because we hire too many people?
That's true.
In the public sector.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you're saying that you want the private sector
Because,
to employ them, the private sector. So you're not only taking on what you have, but you're going to take on leased property and have private sector manage it.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, we'll have to pay the private sector, who is now our employee.
Yes.
You understand what is going on here?
Of course.
That is the foolishness.
Yeah.
In the book Economic Logic by Mark Skousen, the author writes, it is hard enough for government to run essential services, police, courts, and utilities, let alone running hotels, steel mills, and airplanes. Government should not be in the business of running businesses. It is beyond their expertise. Last year, Antigua had a public debt of US 1.3 billion with a debt to GDP ratio of 89%. It has a gross GDP of 1.4 billion with a total national debt per capita of US $14,247. It would be unwise at this time to significantly add to its debt stock and widen its fiscal deficit. Robin Wigglesworth of the Financial Times writes, the Caribbean region as a whole had an average budget deficit of 3% between 1990 to 2015. Since 2010, Antigua, Belize, St. Kitts, Grenada, and Jamaica have had to default and restructure their debt. The Caribbean has slowly but surely become one of the most indebted in the world, with liabilities often far beyond what is safe for such small, open, and undivided economies. What say you to that?
They know that. These guys know that. But it doesn't bother them because they feel when they leave office, they left it behind. And somebody else pick it up. And then your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren start to foot a bill that they know nothing about. It's very inconsiderate how these guys think. I don't understand what's going on with these guys. They do as they like with taxpayers' money, and they feel that they don't have to give you an account of what's going on. And that's all it is. And because then the people, they're not even querying. They're not even getting vexed as to what's going on. You can hear them in some little corner whispering and to themselves.
Something to shoo.
But to come out and say, look, this is not right, and we need an account how our money is going. This is taxpayers' money. You just don't spend it the way you feel like. That's not happening. So because of that, they decide that they will just do anything with the money and all that. And this is what's happening now. It is not feasible. The whole thing that he's talking about is not a feasible project.
So you're not a supporter of entrepreneurial socialism?
Well, that is not that, but it's just that the entrepreneurial socialism, the projects that he's talking about, most times can't even come to half the capacity of what needs to fill those hotels.
What I don't understand, I don't even know what the term entrepreneurial socialism.
Well,
so you're entrepreneur. So the entrepreneurial side of it comes that you can go and get work with the government.
I have
It's
no
not that I
idea
thought
what this
entrepreneurs
guy-
like you take
when
your own
you go
capital,
in
your own
there,
risk, your own
I
money,
don't- that's
and
right.
you can make huge profits,
what it's
or you
all
can
about.
crash and burn.
One or the other.
I thought that's what entrepreneur.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
basic,
no,
simple
yeah,
understanding
yeah,
of
no,
it.
no.
But then you add in the socialism,
He has
where
a-
socialism is
somebody has a
basically the
different take.
state usually has its has these entities, and they will be the one to manage and
Right,
govern them.
that's right.
You
Yeah.
understand? So I thought, and then he says he's more capitalist than socialist.
that's what
But
he
why
said,
use
yeah.
the term entrepreneurial capitalism?
That's
Why is
socialism.
entrepreneurial socialism?
That's right.
But then you were
Right.
saying it's more capitalistic.
Capitalism. It's so
That's not capitalism. That's no way capitalism. Because when you are picking and choosing your friends, your cronies to run these hotels,
That's
what
right.
kind of capitalism is that?
That's right.
Capitalism is supposed to be you taking it upon yourself to go and make money.
That's right. And you're given an
You're
opportunity.
entrepreneur.
That's right.
So
You go there.
it's not like if it's the socialism side comes in where the state will be the one who is deciding
Yeah,
who will
he's
be
in
the
charge of the
entrepreneur.
whole stuff.
You
And
know,
then
entrepreneurial cronyism. That's what that was
Absolutely.
like.
Yeah, it's so crazy and sickening. But you see, these guys just say these things and they know that people are not taking any notice there. This is what it is, you see. So they know they can do it. They can be, because then, look, it's us talking about this and trying to draw the public's attention to what's going on here. They hear these things times and time again and they don't even feel no way about it.
That's entrepreneurial cronyism.
Cronyism.
Because at the end of the day, he'll be deciding,
Yes,
he and
yes,
corrupt labor,
he
who
and
will be
his
getting
buddies,
these
and his
contracts to manage these
That's
hotels.
right, without no
And you know what?
tendering.
Let me tell you what the Antigua and Barbuda people are going to get. The ordinary people. That's not the 1% in our society who have the means and the
big
heir of the
money.
Prime Minister and his family,
Yeah, the big
and
cash.
are beloved by the corrupt Labour Party. Let me tell you what we're going to get in return. This is what we're going to get from the Prime Minister. Listen closely.
And we expect every single Antiguan and Barbudan to earn his or her quick keep.
Yes,
Even if you have to burn coal, you must produce. You go bush, cut cassie, raise some pigs, raise some chickens, go fishing. Do something productive with your lives.
Is that entrepreneurial socialism?
I guess it is.
That is just get the hell out of my face. See?
Yeah.
You are poor, you're
This
black,
is so
not
crazy.
educated, you're not a friend of mine or a comrade that can do something for me. So you go
Just
and
keep on
raise some
rolling.
pigs.
Just, they cut some wood and all that good stuff.
Let me play that one again, man. That one is too funny.
And we expect every single Antiguan and Barbudan to earn his or her quick keep. Even if you have to burn coal, you must produce. You go bush, cut cassie, raise some pigs, raise some chickens, go fishing. Do something productive with your lives.
Do something productive with your lives.
Yeah, I don't understand that now. Because the Barbudans, them, that's what they normally do. Go fishing, they go hunting, and you know, these little things, and they burn the coal and all that good stuff. And he's trying to deprive these people of that way of living.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he's telling Antigans, get into that. This is how you're going to do and make your fair share and contribute. And this.
Productive. That's how you're going to be
What
productive.
is this
But
guy?
the Barbarians are being productive.
Of
And
course.
how much lobster and fish come out there?
Fair. Continuously see these things coming in.
Continuously.
Time and time again. Yeah, and the
People come from
lobster.
Guadeloupe.
What you
I've
mean?
seen people touch down when I was over there. People touch down on the plane and leaving with their big coolers
Oh, you
with
mean
lobster and so on.
that's
So
what's going
somebody
on.
was being
Yeah.
productive.
That's right.
Somebody's
That is
being
a way of
productive.
life.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
their way of life, and they were benefiting from their way of life. And he
So much
wants
so.
to deprive them from their way of life. But yes, still, he's telling us Antiguans now, it's acceptable for you to go out there and bond it. So that will be your contribution, and that will be where you will make your living. Yeah. This is unheard of. It sounds ridiculous, and then it's very belittling.
Yeah.
Because you
So-
have
so
lots
true.
of individuals who went abroad and educate themselves to come back to something better than burning coal and then go fishing and all that.
The young student who bust his tail end to get his first degree.
Yeah.
And then had to take out larger loans after his
To
parents and them
continue
got
his
him through his
education.
first degree and took out loans to finish his 2 years to do a master.
Yeah.
Coming home to be a part of his society, to benefit it, to work for on his day's pay.
Yeah.
What are you going to tell somebody with that level of education
You go over
to
there.
go out and raise some pigs,
Yes.
slaughter the pig,
Yeah.
and then sell pork chops?
That's exactly what he's saying. Raise pig, bun coal.
So
Eh.
the young man or woman with a master's degree should be down there in front of bend down selling coal
Yeah.
on Saturdays.
Absolutely. You see that guy, he has a master's, you know. So what are you doing there? Well, that's why we have
The
to
Prime
offer
Minister
him
told me
right
to
now.
go and burn coal,
Prime
so I am
Minister's
being
words.
productive.
That's right.
You know, this is such a shame, you know.
Yeah, it
But,
totally is. But
I am leaving these comments, and we're going to go election time
Yeah.
and play them to every household in
that's
St.
right.
John's Rural
They need
South
to hear them time
and
time.
hear this sort of disrespect
It
to the
is.
citizens of Antigua and Barbuda.
It is.
In addition to that, from that article about the Prime Minister from Loop News, talking about he wants to nationalize the hotels, there's a response in the Jamaican Observer, and that is dated the 22nd of October. Sensing that his political career future is in doubt after his lackluster performance, Antigua Prime Minister Gaston Browne is desperate, threatening now to commit what is nothing short of political lunacy. If the people of Antigua and Barbuda thought nothing could be worse than Category 5 Hurricane Irma, which completely devastated Barbuda, then they will have another guest coming. A Category 6 hurricane in the person of Gaston Browne has formed in the Eastern Caribbean. It will be worse than anything they have so far experienced because it will cripple not only Barbuda but Antigua this time. Prime Minister Browne, in a bid to frighten investors in the hotel industry, says he wants his and other Caribbean governments to acquire ownership in hotels in their territories on grounds that they are operating like a plantation industry. I'm just paraphrasing some of it, right? Brown's small-minded approach to looking at the tourism industry reminds of the story of the envious dog and the bone. With a juicy-looking bone in its mouth, the dog is passing by a well. It looks in and sees a reflection of itself and the bone in the water, thinking that it should also have that bone. The dog jumps in the well and, of course, loses everything. What do you have to say to that?
Well, look, I've been saying all this time, that's crazy, and the things they say are crazy, but that person chose about it. He says it's political lunacy, and it is. This whole thing is just unreasonable how these guys go about doing things and what they plan to do, and it's not for the benefit of the people. I already see that. But it comes down to that we don't have an economic plan. So because of that lack of economic plan, they're trying to grab on anything
goes.
And it's not working out there. You have to have an economic plan. You have to have a plan where you say, we're going to generate X amount of money per annum or whatever the case, however you want to space it out. But you need a plan in order to say that. We don't have a plan. Since the CIP, the whole thing gone, it just went down, totally out of the control. Where monies are not coming in, and last thing I've heard now, the little contribution that was coming in for the Barbuda people will be touched because we don't have no money coming. This is not right, and it's not good at all. This is bad leadership, bad representation, and the people are not benefiting from what's going on right now here. Again, we just listened earlier, and what he's telling the people, just go and cut some wood and burn some coal. So that it's minimal. You see the kind of minimal money that person is, he wants people to live on. And that is not, it doesn't sound reasonable to me, Via, as you put out yourself to put these people as your representative. And then when they get into power, this is all they have to tell you. The Prime Minister in his opening, he says so much. the water situation will be a thing of the past, the house, the low-income houses, and they will be built. And then he called us people who were saying that that's not possible. He said we have little or no vision. He had all the vision there. And out of 500 homes, after 3 years plus, we are talking about 48 there. This is, poor representation. And the people need to recognize that. And that's what we are here for, actually, week after week, to let you recognize, look, you are better, you deserve much better than what you are getting. Because you're not getting nothing at all from these people. He's sending you out on their own. And I guess that's an entrepreneur, what he calls it? Entrepreneurial socialism. And these things are just throwing about words loosely, and you must be impressed and all that, and it's not right, and it's not going to the benefit of the people there. So I do hope that these people are noticing exactly what's going on. I want them to make their contribution too. Prior to the election, you must call on these guys to be accountable for whatever they do. They are there as your representative. You put them there. You hired them on election day. They are accountable to you. And they need to come and tell you something, especially when they spend up your money foolishly and all that. And this is what's going on. They spend up your money, and then they tell you that, well, no money there, and we have to touch this and we have to touch that. There are late payments in so many of the other establishments and all that. So it is not going nicely for the people of Antigua. And Antigua people, you need to recognize this, and you need to do what it takes in order to get this thing fixed. And I don't know, I've added to the whole situation here, because situation in Barbuda now has created another phase of situation in Antigua where we have 1,600 more people to be taken care of and all that good stuff. And I don't even think they didn't have a plan of how they were going to go about doing this. So the whole thing has gone chaotic, and it's out of hand there. I really don't know how they plan to resolve this whole good stuff. I don't know. I know, though, that the Barbuda people, they want to go home, because they are talking about this cleanup campaign in order to get their place rectified and in condition that people can go back home and live. And I do hope that all that comes out nicely and gets done, so the people can go back and pick up on their lives, because they had a life. They had a life. And it's, it's not by doings of their own that this takes place. It's a natural disaster that came by and really uprooted the Barbudan people, why they are here right now. So they need to go back and do something with their life, and they need to be assisted. And, again, this is not how things are being done in putting a country back together that's been devastated that way. This is what I'm saying. We have more arguments and a lot of trivial nonsense over this whole issue.
The name calling.
And all that.
The name calling. You're calling them squatters.
Oh, this is so shameful.
Your family have lived on a parcel land island for 300 years.
All that
and
time.
You become a squatter.
And you're a squatter for 300 years.
And they turn them lazy and... Some of the word that the chief of lies, Max Hurst, used on them the other day. Somebody called, some Barbudan hailed me and tell me what he was saying. But, there's no plan for unemployment in Antigua. They never had it before Irma and Maria. And I don't see the government doing any better, because it's compounded with the CIP being a complete failure, right? It's compounded with this affordable housing project, the 500 homes in 500 days, being an absolute failure. It is being compounded with the way he operates a government, where it has not benefited the laborers. And that is why we call ourselves true labor,
That's right.
But we did not see it in them.
We
did not see them following the ideologies of the founding fathers of Antigua and Barbuda and the first set of leaders of the AT and LU and the A.L.P. So when people are saying, oh, we don't like that name, Go back to see how they looked about their poor people.
That's right.
Go back to see how they try to educate them.
That's right.
And to educate their families and
That's
to
right.
house those families. Go
And
back to
equate-
that.
and
that
equate
is what
that
we
to what's
see.
happening.
I
That's
don't know
right.
why anybody would not ingratiate themselves to the way they were doing business back then.
Oh, yes.
That is something that you
That's
want to
right.
see in your
You-
country.
you hold.
So it's a longing for the past where there was good governance.
Mm.
We're not saying perfect government, because there's no man or institution that is
That's
perfect.
perfect. Oh, no.
They had their faults, Papa Bird
Of course,
and all of them.
everybody had their
But
little
I'm saying,
setbacks.
if you put up those guys in comparison to what we have today, Corrupt Labor, U.P.P, and even the other political organizations out there,
Man,
They can't
those
compete.
guys by far.
by far,
These
genuine. They made mistakes.
Of course, everybody.
3/4 of them weren't educated men and women.
That's so true.
People in them just went in because of love of country and love of
Love
their own
of
people.
country. That's
They
the
made
name
an
of it.
attempt.
That's the name
And
of
that
it.
is
the love
what
of country.
we ingratiate ourselves to. We want to follow in those footsteps.
Those are
So
that's
when
where
people
we
talk
go.
about legacy, it's not a legacy of Bird, legacy of Labour Party, it's legacy of
How-
good governance in
that's right,
Antigua,
how
caring about
things-
your fellow people, looking about their best interests, trying to educate their families, trying to put a roof over their head, trying to find them decent jobs.
That's
I
right.
just want them to progress in life
That's
in
another
a
thing.
peaceful, safe environment,
That's
which is
right.
Antigua and Barbuda. That is what we're about.
Absolutely. But we didn't
Yeah.
know that because during the last election campaign, they promised people jobs.
They promise people the same thing we're talking about.
That's right. They
Oh, what
promised,
we're
but
talking,
they
they
fall
promised them.
short.
Well, that is why I am not with them, because I know they were just hypocrites. They're
They were
lying.
just running them out.
They're just running them out.
Run them out, man. They
Anyway,
just-
Nedwell, let me finish up the article,
Yeah,
right?
right.
There's some more. This is what the author of the article, I think it's a gentleman by the Glendon Phillip. They say he's an international investment consultant working in the Caribbean region. He goes on to say, there must be someone in Brown's cabinet who can educate him. There is no investor or lender willing to risk their money in a country with an outmoded socialist leader who has shown scant regard for foreign investors, even when they come from the Caribbean community, and who has torn up agreements signed by previous governments without batting an eyelid. Sounds like Butch what they're talking about
yes,
here.
yes.
Them a
yes,
jammy for
sounds
them
like
boy.
Yeah. Vexation.
They're jammy for them fella yardie.
Oh, yes.
It is clear that much of Brown's intemperate outburst is the result of a fevered imagination in which he sees himself in the company of the likes of Cuba's Fidel Castro and Venezuela's Hugo Chavez. For enlightenment, he should look at the state of the Cuban and Venezuelan economies before it is too late. Moreover, he could learn a lesson or two from what happened to the tourist industry in Jamaica during the socialist days of the 1970s, when the government was forced to take over more and more hotels as the foreign owners fled, bankrupting Jamaica. Welcome to the past, Mr. Brown. Full stop.
That's right.
So they are saying they have done that in Jamaica before.
That's right. And it
They took
failed.
over the hotels in them,
Yes. It was
and
a
the foreigner
total
owners
failure.
fled.
Yeah.
Because the hotels were taken over. I
Right.
think that's on the Manly they're talking
Manly,
about, if I'm
yeah,
not mistaken.
Manly,
And it bankrupt Jamaica.
yeah. Absolute.
And that's why they had a lot of the social upheavals and the
All
fight.
that, yeah.
Although they did have the CIA come in there and litter the country with guns
Oh,
and,
yes,
and
yes,
divide
yes.
up
No,
the country.
That's
But
what
that's
happened.
because I believe at a point in time, man was playing a role in the non-aligned movement
That's
and
right.
going up with Cuba and all that and talking about bashing America during the
all
Cold War.
them things,
The
yeah,
times
yeah.
have changed.
Yeah.
But
Ah.
this policy that Mr. Brown is talking about introducing in Antigua is the ravings of a lunatic. And he himself told me on
Let's see.
46 North Street, that is where they have the Union Hall.
Right.
This was around 2012. He told me that he was crazy. Me crazy. And if anybody try me, just lick off your head. That is what he told me on the street. Because he had some problem with me.
And this is our
So,
Prime Minister.
if anybody say Gaston Browne is crazy, and he come at them and say he can sue you, remind him what he told Weber III at North Street
That he's crazy.
in 2012.
Say
It
he's
was a
crazy.
Labor Day. Me crazy. And if anybody try me, just lick off your head.
Eh,
Well, it seems to me that the author of this
yeah,
article
recognize that he
has
was
come
crazy.
to the same conclusion
Yeah,
that
lunacy.
I had to come to, because nobody jokingly will belittle themselves, say they're crazy.
No.
You have to have a
wasn't
serious
joke.
problem.
That was the joke.
I don't
That's
know.
serious.
He probably thought he was going to intimidate me. The only human being on this earth that intimidate me is my dear mother, Ethelyn Annette Brown Bird,
Very much
when
so.
she used to take that leather strap to my tail end.
Absolutely.
After those days,
I remember
ain't
those
nobody
days.
intimidated this
Oh,
bird here.
man.
Not me. Not Lester, not Malwin, not Robin, not this idiot we calling Gaston Browne or world boss.
Oh, boy.
This is just pure rubbish.
Absolute.
You know,
Absolute.
but we read that article to inform you because we don't like to read from the local papers. We have a feeling that everybody
Bias.
have their axe to grind and
Yeah,
they have
the
their
bias.
biases.
Yes, the
So we
bias.
like to read from articles
Outside.
where outside the country,
Outside.
people looking in can see
Yeah.
a clear vision of what is happening in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jamaican newspaper Observer tells you that Mr. Browne is a lunatic. And the article from the Loop newspaper says it's an oxymoron what he's attempting to do, because the two phrases cannot coexist: entrepreneurialism and socialism. So he's saying, what is he talking about? Robert Mackenzie, that's his name, opened. That is one hell of an oxymoron, entrepreneurial socialism. Those two words cannot exist in the same sentence. I knew that, you
That's
knew
right,
that,
it
Nedwell.
doesn't make the
You
sense.
cannot, are we trying to say what are you trying to get?
We know what an entrepreneur is.
Yeah.
And we know what socialism is.
Socialism, the socialism
how
the
does it
government's
work?
practice
Yeah.
is that they take control of all the state assets. They purchase all they nationalize the oil industry, they
Nationalize is the
nationalize the
word.
hotels,
That's
they
right.
nationalize all these
Nationalize.
things that are better run by private entities.
Right.
And they try to run them. And it's been done in Caribbean countries from left
Yeah.
to right,
Yeah.
from
all
north to
over.
south.
Yeah.
We had a
all
hard
over.
time because we did start up with our own industries. Remember, we used to have an arrowroot plant.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one there up Airport Road. I think that was sweet oil. I just
Well,
sweet
cooking oil,
Remember?
cooking oil,
Cooking
yeah,
oil.
go ahead,
You used to always smell it at
Yeah,
that punch and sell
Yeah,
when
it
they
was
passed the
heavy.
airport.
It was heavy.
It was heavy. It was heavy. Then they used to have the arrowroot manufacturing out there in old road side.
All right.
Right, you remember that one? You
Yeah.
remember that one?
Yeah.
That's near where Grant has his farm, the white
Okay.
Canadian guy. They used to have the arrowroot factory out there. The government tried to run these things, but they
But
did
it's
not work.
Yeah, it's not for the government to run.
And that is why we said in our manifesto we want to encourage light manufacturing.
That's right.
But it wasn't for us to own it and to start it.
Even people
we
from
were
the
going
outside.
to. What's that?
Even people from the outside. they
Yeah,
could
we
come
want to
set up.
encourage people.
That's right. Come and set up.
We
and
want to make it known that
employ.
you employ people,
That's
and
right.
then all the industry, all the products that the hotel need to function, you are going to manufacture that.
That's right.
And all
Right
we
here.
want from them is to employ people,
That's
to
right.
give people a chance to make a living,
A living.
a decent day's
That's so
wage
correct.
for a decent day's work.
That's right.
Not for our government or we in true labor to be in government and tell them we want to run these businesses ourselves,
it's not
or
for
we
us.
want a percentage
Of-
of the shares in this
It doesn't
business.
work that way.
We don't want to get
No,
in
it
that.
doesn't work that way.
It is a more viable policy coming from the True Labour Party
so true.
than any other political organization in Antigua and Barbuda. If we have light manufacturing, and part of the light manufacturing will go into legalizing marijuana.
That's right.
Because that will be an industry. A
In
light
itself.
industry. That's
Yeah,
not a heavy
itself.
industry where
No,
you're building
not
a
at all.
plane, or you're building a car, or you're building some
None of
huge
that.
space shuttle.
Lots of people will get jobs and
Lots
be
of people,
employed.
because it's labor
But it's still
intensive.
light. That's right.
It's labor intensive.
still
You
light.
need people to harvest it. You need people to sell it.
And-
You
and
need
so-
people to inspect the product, right?
That's
you
right.
have the people to sell it to people, not on a dealer, but to your salesperson,
That's
the
right,
persons
sir.
to the PR.
Like
you have
the
to have your
cleaners and the-
advertisements and so on.
Right,
You
that's
will
right.
have to sell it because we are not going into selling just marijuana. we're going to sell it the kush of the kush.
That's right.
This is the finest grade throughout
that
the
you
world.
can find in this region.
So we'll have to
right.
have people to market our product.
Of course.
And people to come and test it so that they can run home and said, you know what I had in Antigua and Barbuda? I had an Antigua Black. And when you smoke a joint, it takes you about 5 minutes. But I smoked that, it took me an hour. I just pull in it every 5 minutes.
That's right.
Because I wanted to savor
I had to
that
hold
Antigua
it
Black
back. You couldn't
ganja.
let it just blow away.
Yeah, I couldn't just suck that down into my stomach. And that, we're joking about it, right? But
it's real
just
stuff.
the way we saw that Antigua and Barbuda was going to pay off its national
And we can
debt.
benefit from. We
Yeah.
would benefit significantly from this project.
Well, I realize the time is already up.
We're saying we
Let me
just
say,
started.
give me a minute, and then you'll have the outro, the final word, right?
Yeah.
In Antigua and Barbuda today, the people of Antigua and Barbuda are suffering, not from only what the leaders have done to them in the last 3 years and even before that, but from what they have allowed their public servants to do to them. We heard the phrase used in the 2014 election, which was held on the 12th of June, 2014, that Gaston Browne and the Antigua Barbuda Labour Party are ready to rebuild this country. And you have been ready prior to 2014 to rebuild Antigua. Antigua has not been rebuilt. And now they have to take on the rebuilding of Barbuda. That is why I'm saying it's so funny when you cry wolf.
Right. Oh.
When you cry wolf, it come right back. The wolf actually comes and sat on our doorstep last month with those 2 hurricanes.
That's right.
And now
That's correct.
he is faced with rebuilding this nation. When he said he had a plan over 3 years ago before taking office, and it's right now back into your lap.
Right.
And God doesn't do his work and spoil it. He's come right back and said, you said something, now let the people see what you're going to do.
Do it.
Go ahead, Nedwell. That's all I have to say. Antigua and Barbuda, listen to our policies and just keep an open mind, because we intend nothing but positive, good governance for you. Go ahead,
people.
Nedwell.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that you've seen what you've been getting over the years, and you've seen the promises that these people have been making to you, and you see what they deliver. They promised they were going to do this, that, and the other, and nothing has come your way. As my co-host here just told you, they talk about rebuilding, and you see nothing being rebuilt, not even the community center in Rural South. So I really don't know. These guys just tell you things, and they just continue to fool you time and time again. You need to let that stop happening. I will continue to say this to you week after week. You have to start thinking carefully as to how the direction you're going to take your life from now on. We see the hardship. You see how times are hard. Times today are harder than times yesterday. And we need to make a change on that and do what it takes for that change to come about. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have to start thinking carefully and do what it takes, and I do hope that's what you're doing. The feedback we are getting on our campaign indicates that's what's happening, but again, as I say, I do hope that's what's happening, and I wish you all well.
Yes, Nedwell, we're going to end this show, and we're going to play a clip for you. This is the Prime Minister telling you what to do when you're hungry. Listen up to this one.
Developers should also not only beautify their properties and the surroundings, but also to plant fruit trees as part of our Zero Hunger program. You want to make sure that if somebody is without food, they can probably pick a mango or guava at the side of the road instead of robbing and exposing themselves to danger or to jail time.
A buzzard took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The buzzard tried to throw the monkey off of his back, but the monkey grabbed his neck and said, "Now listen, Jack, straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of diving? Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. The buzzer told the monkey, you are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free. The monkey looked the buzzer right dead in the eye and said, your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Bree, bree, doo, bree, bree, doo, da 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 da. The buzzer told the monkey, you are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free. The monkey looked the buzzard right dead in the eye and said, your story's so touching, it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your